How do you find your perfect buyer with these terms deals? Hey, Wicked Smart Community, it's Chris Pre with Smart Real Estate Coach with another Deal Structure Sunday again with Brian O'Neill from Chicago, as well as our strategy expert. Brian, welcome back, buddy.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Good to be here.
Yeah, so a couple things. This is deal number sold. What for you?
4.
We have more coming this week, actually, but this is number 4 that he did.
Yes.
And Brian joined the community, I don't know, 16 months ago, 15 months ago, roughly?
14, yeah, 14.
Okay. So 14 months ago has since transitioned. I'm just setting it up, Brian, so they know you if they didn't see the past episodes of Deal Structure. And also you should visit the smartrealestatecoachpodcast.com. Brian has a couple major episodes in there that are some huge nuggets. But we're only 14 months into this, and you went full time, and you're on deal 4, and things are cranking.
They definitely are. Yep, it's amazing what can happen in a short amount of time.
All right, so let me do this. I'm going to call up the deal structure sheet so these guys can follow it, Brian, because we talk about this now like in our sleep, like it's second nature, but we'll lose people. So let me call that up. All right, here we go. Let's talk about, and as a reminder for all the Wicked Smart viewers, we're going to jump to the overtime because Brian had some really cool things here that happened by way of seller communication and buyer communication that you're definitely going to want to hear, nuggets. But let's go to the basics, Brian. Let's talk about the source first.
Source was an expired listing, and they responded via text message to my live broadcast voicemail.
Okay, so how many attempts, kind of what was the time frame with the sellers? I think that's always cool for them to hear because they all differ.
Sure, they responded to the message relatively quickly within a day or maybe the next day, and then our first call was within a couple of days of that initial exchange.
Okay, cool. And then let's see, you structured, well, talk a teeny bit. We can talk in overtime, but talk a teeny bit about why the sellers came to you.
Sure, they did have it on the market, so it was on with a realtor. They didn't really have positive feedback. There was some, and I asked them that on the call. You know, like why didn't it sell? Why didn't you think it sold? And just, you know, the typical stuff that pre-approval buyers will say. You know, the layout. Yeah. Or, you know, the kitchen or the wall or the paint color, or, you know, the driveway, the blacktop hadn't been done. Minor stuff that, you know, isn't of concern to us. It wasn't on for a long time, but it was just, they were really trying to maximize their cash out of the house.
Yeah, and then just to put an explanation point on that for the viewers to know that might be new to terms, it always amazes the new people, Brian, that like, well, why don't the buyers care about that? They don't care about that because you're giving them a terms route. You're giving them a pathway to a mortgage, a pathway to home ownership, right? And some of them thought they couldn't ever get it. Is that accurate in your opinion?
100%. Not a single buyer who walked through the house said anything about any of those items I just mentioned.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk about the deal, and the way you have it written up is always helpful for them to know that we don't talk price, but we just use it to calculate equity. So talk a little bit about how you did that.
Sure. So again, I asked them the question, you know, what are you hoping to get out of it? If you sold it conventionally, what were you hoping to get out of it? They gave me a range of 60 to 70,000 was their goal. And I met them in the middle, and there was no argument around that. So their loan balance is 269,752, and they're getting 65,000 on or before the term.
When you calculated, I don't know if you remember, what were they on for, and what would they have netted out if they got like a full price offer after a realtor? I don't think I asked you that.
They were on for, at one point, the last listing price was 369. They had bought it really well, and their asking price was not unreasonable. Again, it was just a matter of, for whatever reason, they couldn't find a buyer conventionally. And it was right around that. number that they would have netted, but they would have, to sell it, they would have had to continue to lower the price. That's not something they wanted to do.
Yeah, so that's okay. So that's a plus for them. You got them what they were going to get, and they didn't get it on the open market.
Correct.
Cool. All right. So then you said, all right, let's get it sold. Well, first of all, you structured a 36-month, right?
36 months, which initially was not something they wanted to do, but we can discuss that more in the overtime piece.
Yeah, there's going to be a couple nuances like this, guys. So make sure you jump over to fire up the overtime at smartrealestatecoachacademy.com. All right. So when we went to sell it, you put it on for $389.9.
$389.9. Again, they were on for $369 today, and our sell price is more than fair.
Yeah, and just last night in the Wicked Smart sit down, the student came on. I won't say his name, but he came on and he was blown away. He was only going to mark his house up 10 grand, and Nick had him going up like 30 or 40 grand. He's confused on why and how that would work. It's the same logic as the other, right? You're locking their price in, and they can't wait to have a pathway.
Right.
Cool. All right. Now, how long did it take you to find this buyer? And we're going to talk about what I said in the opening on the overtime about how and why they're perfect. But how long did it take you to find them?
It was about 65 days to find this particular buyer, and I went through several.
Talk about that a little bit. Not, we can do more in the overtime, but when you say you went through several, what happened?
I probably had a half a dozen next step forms. I had a ton of interest in the house. I mean, I remember when we marketed the property, we marketed multiple areas, but on Facebook, immediately, like within 10 minutes and because of where the location is, the city is extremely popular and desirable because there's a lot of jobs in the area. It's close to the city. So we had a ton of interest in the home. So it took some patience to find the buyer that we ended up selecting.
Okay, so you said a few things I want to highlight in case people are new, because I always assume like we're going to roll and people get it. So first of all, there's an entire module in QLS, our online course that you can find on our site, and it's all buyer. In fact, Ryan, our media director of media and creative, said this morning, Brian, that all 1 through 6 has been updated now, and then we're going to update it again with the coaches' comments. We're updating these things constantly for the Wicked Smart viewers to know. Constantly. There's not a course that gets dust on it. And so the biggest question we get from the field is, how do you get them sold? It's all in there. And Brian just follows to a T. Any comments, Brian, on that?
Absolutely. I mean, there's two things I'll say about the buyer, finding a buyer is number one, you do have to be patient because you're looking for someone who's going to show themselves. The buyers show themselves when you match up with them. And by showing themselves, I mean, they do what you're asking them to do. They follow the steps. When you find that, it becomes an easy decision, as long as everything else checks out with the income and the down payment.
Cool. So let's talk about that. You had a next step form. That all these forms that you hear Brian referring to are in the QLS Mod 11, by the way, for the viewers. Yep. You had a next step form. Did they start it at the 12 grand? Like, where did it start? Because you ended at 12 grand plus 50. You ended at 27 grand.
We did. And that was, the initial deposit we had some discussion around that because we talked to them I talked to her about, hey, look, it's going to be your deposit plus the first month's rent. And she had a certain number that she just wasn't able to go over day one, which was about 15,000. So that's why the deposit looks the way it does for, signing.
Okay. Again, for anyone new in a review, Brian, you took the first month's rent, you're adding it to payday one because you didn't owe the seller till the following month, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. So written in our contracts for the Wicked Smart viewers, the sandwich lease contracts, you're going to start 30 days later. If you can negotiate further, great, but you're going to start 30 days after you install your buyer. So that first month that the buyer pays goes right in your pocket, payday one, all gravy. And then 15 grand is coming when, Brian?
We're doing $5,000 payments. We're doing 5,000 6 months from now, and then 5,000 at the end of 2021, and then another $5,000 at tax time, the 2022.
Got it. And then this buyer is paying $21.96 a month, same as the first month you took. and you're going out at only 1850.
Yeah, they have, it's a bonus there. The seller has a great mortgage payment. I mean, that's all in for this area. That's low. So I've been excited about this home since the day I got it, because I knew there was
Love it.
going to be a nice spread.
Love it. And then, so payday one's right there on the board. Everybody sees that. Little, almost 13 grand.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. So let's talk about payday three, if you want to walk them through that.
Yeah, we had a great markup on the home, as we discussed. I mean, I was able to get the home exactly for what they asked for. I mean, so we took it for 335 and they were on for 379 at one point. So they took a lot less than they were asking for, simply by asking the question. So we have a great markup, 54.9. The principal pay down on this loan is 450 per month, which is great, which comes to 16.2. Less the deposit of 27,000 over the course of the term. So total payday three is 44,100.
And then that gives you a juicy 85 grand at the end. Do you know your average on your four? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, it's about 74,000. So I mean, close to the average for the 75.
Okay, so what's cool is Zach and I do live trainings and webinars, and we show our family team average street paydays, and it's like 74,800, and you're like right there.
Yeah.
Okay, miraculous how that stuff works. All right, Brian, we could keep going on this deal. I think for the viewers' sake, let's cut it here. And you guys want to go ahead over to smartrealestatecoachacademy.com and fire up this week's deal structure overtime. And we're going to talk a little bit about the buyers and the sellers and any other nuances that Brian can remember from it, because I definitely don't remember with all the deals going on. Brian, thanks for being on again, buddy. Congrats. And for those that are watching, if you don't have QLS yet, just go to getqls.com, getqls.com. Side note, and I want Brian to comment on this actually, before we jump to overtime, why should they be at the next event, which probably as of this time of this going live would be the business scaling event, but they can go to the site and see all the events, but why should they be there? And that'll give them the website.
Yeah, absolutely. That was actually my first event that I attended.
Oh.
It was a virtual event, Business Scaling Secrets. And I just remembered how blown away I was about how dedicated it was to literally scaling your business, and I was just starting. So, a lot of that didn't apply to me because I was just pounding the phones, but kind of gave me the framework and the mindset of what I needed to do to have a business I could scale. And now I'm there. So
Awesome.
I can't wait for the next one coming up because I'm in a different spot, but certainly something you need to be there. And I mean, the speakers are tremendous.
Yeah. So, okay. So you're a couple months away from your first event with us, and these guys can go to bizscaling.com. And to your earlier point, Brian, this is huge. People say, well, I didn't think it was for me. I'm brand new. No, it's how to launch and scale, how to transition yourself. We call it cross the line. It's the whole theme this year from the million and up. So now Brian's working specifically with the same people we work with, elite entrepreneurs, to scale his business and how to do that culture-wise, flow-wise, meeting-wise. It's just absolutely amazing. So I encourage you to look at that website, bizscaling.com, and we will see you there. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Chris.